I guess the clear takeaway here is asking you shall receive. I put out a petition at the end of every single episode saying if you have a topic you want me to discuss, to send it over to me. And I got more than I bargained for. There is an entire study that was done on psychological safety in the Agile community, a scientific investigation of the experience of psychological safety, the factors that contribute to it, the consequences on its members for online and face to face interactions. Okay. It starts out how psychologically safe is the Agile community for its members. What does it look like when psychological safety is low? How do members react to it? Right? Okay, let's pause here, just right out of the gate. What I can tell you is that this is an extensive article. So I'm just going to focus on the top 5 or 6 or 7 key results that came from the study. So here's what they did. They defined the Agile community as a global knowledge sharing community with many smaller subcommunities. Research has shown that psychological safety is an essential predictor of members' intent to continue contributing to virtual communities. Next, it says for in person interactions, most participants experience a moderate to high level of psychological safety, 3.9 on a scale of 1 to 5. That's pretty good. For online interactions, most participants experience a low to moderate level of psychological safety, coming in at 2.9. The behaviors that participants typically experience are the rejection of new ideas, 37%, tribalism, 24%, and not feeling heard, 19%. Interesting. 4.2% reported no experience with behavior that lowered their psychological safety. The most common strategy for dealing with this is for participants to stop contributing or withdraw from the community, 55.2%. A tenth of the participants reported lower emotional well being, 9.8%. 11.2% said it didn't affect them at all. Here's the next one. It says we found no significant difference in reported psychological safety by gender. However, women report substantially more dismissal of their views and tend to withdraw more from further interaction. A significant difference was we found when comparing between age groups. The youngest cohort, 26 to 36, reported high level psychological safety, which dips to the lowest level, 36 to 45, and trends up from there to the highest level for the oldest cohort, 66 plus. We also found significant differences between roles, with facilitators and trainers reporting the lowest level of safety. That's interesting. The next one says participants identified 3 primary factors contributing to lower psychological safety. Poor debating skills was the big one, 36%. Dogmatism, 30%, and self-promotion, 16%. Next one says, according to the participants, the 3 primary strategies to improve psychological safety are more community engagement and leadership, 21%, improving the quality of the dialogue, 19.6%, and personal coping strategies for 10.5%. So future studies can replicate this study to analyze trends and compare psychological safety between different communities. We identified several limitations to our research, which primarily impact a degree to which the findings can be generalized to a global Agile community, and whether the level of psychological safety is low or is too low or good enough is a normative one that it's up to the community. However, research shows that the intention to share knowledge is lower when psychological safety is low. If we combine this with the observed differences in gender, role, and age, knowledge sharing may be harmed, lowering the diversity of those contributing. Okay, let's pause here for a second, because I don't know if I want to go any further with this study, and let me explain why. So what I see here is this is just cram-packed with probably close to 100 pages of information. And I do appreciate that they put a summary in the very beginning. But here's my issue. Having done this live with so many teams and having experienced what psychological safety is and what it isn't, what I can tell you is it's more than just age or gender. It has to do with it has a lot to do with where these people are geographically located and whether or not their teams are remote or in person. And there's so many other factors. I think nationality of the person. I think the environment that they grew up in at home. I think the Myers-Briggs assessment of their personality types. There's just so many other things that could go into this study that I can make it probably another 100 pages. So here's what I'm going to do instead. So instead of focusing where they did with regard to psychological safety, I'm just going to tell you the top three things that you can do to improve psychological safety today. Number one, learn to use these three words: help me understand. If you are in a position where you know you're right, you know there's no way the other person could possibly be right about what they're asking or telling you, instead of saying no or calling somebody out, you might say, "That's an interesting perspective. Help me understand how you reached that conclusion, or help me understand how we got to that point. Help me understand where this is going to take us going forward." Help me understand is a powerful tool because it asks for the individual who asserted to reassess what their assertion is and to make a decision about how it's going to impact um, the what impact or what input do they have that's going to justify, ratify, or make right their assertion. And I think that that's something that we just don't do. So help me understand is a powerful tool, way more powerful than saying no, because it shows that you have an open mind, and it stimulates conversation amongst all the people there. Number two is understand people's diverse cultural nature, meaning you're not going to treat a whole team that's working and living in India the same as you would a team that's living and working in Russia. The cultural differences are just enormous, right? So, where am I going with this? You need to understand that people are different and that every group is going to have varying levels of psychological safety, and that your role as a leader or as a scrum master or as a coach is to understand where the psychological safety falls, what triggers it, what triggers the people, and how we can get to the bottom of, okay, this is the best experience we can provide for these people, right? And then number three, and I think this is important, we obviously all three of these are, we need to create an environment or a container that's conducive to psychological safety. Whether people are working from home in a hybrid environment, whatever it is, you need to make sure you're creating a container where people feel like they're not going to get called out for saying something or doing something that goes against the grain. People need to feel comfortable and have confidence that their voice is being heard. And they need to understand that what they have is contributing to the greater good, and that they're never going to be called out for doing something wrong, inappropriate, or incorrect. That failure is an option, and it's okay, and there's going to be no retribution for it. But we need to make sure that we're treating people with the dignity and respect that they need, because the truth is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So a little bit of empathy can go a long way. That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want to discuss, learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.